Hello, everybody.
Hi, everybody. I'm Craig. This is Iris. Iris will introduce herself in a second. But first off, thank you. Thank you for taking the time to do this. End of a busy day. Second week back, everyone's knackered. So thank you for making the time to do this. We'll try and make it as kind of concise as possible, take on a bit of a whirlwind tour of some of the things that you can do. And there'll also be opportunities to answer questions, ask questions, play a little quiz. It'll all be going off, but we'll tell you about that as we go through it. So let me hand over to Iris to introduce herself and to talk you through what's going to be happening.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Craig. Obviously, my name's Iris. I work on our schools training and delivery. If you see a cat walking around the background, very sorry about that. We work from home. So what we're aiming to cover today, one, Craig's going to talk all about diagnostic questions and help you understand a little bit more about what they are. And then I'll give you a quick tour on how to get set up and, of course, discover eedi as well.
Fantastic. Nice one, Iris. Right, okay. So eedi and diagnostic questions, Iris will explain the difference and all that. I know that's a source of confusion for some people, but both platforms are built on diagnostic questions, the same diagnostic questions, in fact. So I thought what would be nice before we play a little game is I'll just show you one of my current favorite diagnostic questions. So if you just, let me skip on one. Oh, ideal. So just take a moment just to have a look at this question. So we've got Trisha, she's having a go at a quiz and she's got 34 out of 40. What is this as a percentage? Now, it's interesting this. This question is part of one of our free schemes of work that Iris will talk about a little bit later. It's a GCSE foundation question, but you can imagine this appearing on a higher paper as well. And it's interesting because for me, a good diagnostic question doesn't just tell you which kids have got it right. It tells you, for the kids who've got it wrong, a bit of an insight into why they might have got it wrong. And this is quite an interesting one, this, because there's some quite subtle differences. Just to warm you up, if my maths is right, I think A is the correct answer to this, 85%. Well, what's your instinct for what the most popular wrong answer is? Just have a think on your own. No need to write anything down or anything like that. Where do you think kids go wrong on this question? Let me show you the answer. This one's been answered over 2,000 times, this particular question. So it's a fairly large sample size. And first off, you can see it's only got right 2/3 of the time. Now, actually, compared to some of the ones I'm going to show you in a few minutes, that's actually not bad. There's some absolute stinkers coming up soon. But look at that, B, 18%. 18% of students think that 34 out of 40 is 94%. Now, that's not just a case of knowing that kids struggle with percentage of an amount. We've got a window into why they struggle there, right? They think that the six questions Trisha's got wrong just represents 6%. So take 6% off 100 and you've got 94. But we can't discount C and D. I mean, C, 9%. 9% of students just thinking 34 out of 40. Doesn't matter what it's out of. It's just 34%. And I think D's interesting as well. That's 1 in 20. So go for D, 5%. So there's going to be probably one of your kids going for that. Where does 68% go? Well, 34 out of 40, 40, not far off 50, just double it up and hope for the best. So what I like about diagnostic questions, I'm going to be really digging into this in the game we're about to play, is it's not just the case that it shows you who gets it right and who gets it wrong. Based on your students' answers, you get a real insight into why they're going wrong. And that then opens the window into being able to convince them not only why the right answer is right, but also why the wrong answers are wrong. Okay, so let's play a little game. So this is just going to tee everybody up, get everybody thinking. Big cash prizes potentially could be available legally. Don't quote me on that one. And the way this game's going to work, it's guess the misconception game with a bit of a twist. So I'm going to show you three questions from one of our schemes of work on a particular area of mathematics. And there's going to be 4 marks available. 1 mark is for you identifying out of the 3, what's the worst answered question? Which question do the lowest percentage of students get correct? And for each question, what do you think the most popular misconception is? What's the most popular wrong answer? So I've gone into our eedi GCSE topic quizzes scheme of work. Now, this is my favorite scheme for anyone in years 9, 10 and 11. And Iris will talk you through some of the other schemes of work that are available. And I've gone into the powers and roots quiz. And what I've done when I've gone into the powers and roots is I've chosen the 3 worst answered questions by the thousands of kids who've answered questions from this quiz. So there are your 3 questions, question 1, question 2, question 3. And what I would like you to do first is on the right-hand side of your screen, you'll see questions, polls, and people for tabs. If you click on the polls tab, it should have maybe a little red dot to it. And then Iris, you'll have to step in here. How can they indicate which they think is the worst answered question?
Yeah, just in a second, on the poll section, as Craig said, there'll be 3 options. So you'll just be able to choose question 1, question 2, and question 3. Just give me a second and I'll fire it off.
That just builds up a bit of drama. So have a look at this. There's no rush at all. So your first job is, out of those 3 questions, which do you think the most kids struggle with? Question 1, question 2, question 3. And when you're ready, and Iris gives me the signal, you can indicate your results in the polls tab. As I say, big cash prizes potentially available for this one.
Yep, so that's live. We can see some results coming in.
Wow. Okay, so the poll's live. So all we're doing for this first mark, which is the worst answered question. Good luck.
Also, once you've answered, you'll actually be able to see the spread of the other teachers' answers in the room as well. So pop your answer down, then you'll be able to see what the other teachers think too.
Nice, Iris. Nice extra commentary there. I like that. Could do the bit of dramatic music maybe for this. So I can see we've got 31 people are on board now. Welcome to those of you who've joined us late. Thank you again for being here. So if you've missed this, on this slide, what we're asking you to do, those 3 questions, which is the worst answered question? Is it the one on roots? Is it the one involving negative numbers? Is it the one on volume? I'm going to say another maybe 20 seconds. I can see about 18 of you have had a go now. So still a fair few of you left to vote. Get your votes in. I'm not going to reveal anything, but there is a split between 2 answers that people are going for here. Remember, this is what is the worst answered question here.
I should know the answer here. I'm not sure I do.
Well, the beauty of this, Iris, we're going to build up the tension for this. We're going to reveal them 1 question at a time. So this will be exciting stuff. Okay, 10 seconds on the clock. 10 seconds on the clock. Chance to get your answer in. 5 seconds left. 3, 2, 1. Okay, right. So we've got, I'm not going to reveal the answer here, but I'll tell you now that 35% of you reckon question 1's the worst answered. 17% of you are going for question 2, and 48% of you question 3. This for me is a really useful thing to do. This idea of taking a topic and then choosing the worst answered questions and doing this with your department. Well, where do you think kids go wrong? Why do they go wrong there? And what are we going to do about it? We're going to dive into that now. So I will tell you that the least worst answered question is the one on roots. So this isn't the winner. So if you've chosen this one, you're not looking good for maximum marks, but you still could be in with a chance. But before we dig into this, here's my challenge for you on this one. What out of there is the most popular wrong answer? So Iris is going to pop the roots poll up there. And your challenge there, if my maths is right, I think the right answer is D. I don't think that gives an integer answer. But what do kids think? What's the most popular wrong answer there? Is it A? Is it B? Is it C? Have a think. And then same place, put the tab in, polls tab, put your answers. And I'll tell you now, this fascinates me, this one.
Oh, there's a clear winner coming on at the moment, isn't
But is it the right answer, Iris? This is the problem. This is the question on everybody's lips. Right, the votes are flying in now. As Iris says, there's a runaway favourite for what people reckon. Nobody's going for A here. Poor A. Oh, sorry.
You know to tell people.
Yeah. Didn't hear that one. I'm going to say 10 seconds on the clock. 5, 3, 2, 1. Okay, right. So this particular question answered over 2,000 times. All of these questions have to get a decent sample size. Now look at this. D's the right answer. Only 48% of kids get this right. Now, it's worth thinking, well, why is this a problematic question? And if 48% of a pretty decent sample size are getting this question wrong, that's setting an alarm bell off in my head. And I'm thinking to myself, I best make sure I ask this question to my kids. Now, we can see here, 24% are going for C, 16% are going for B, and 13% are going for A. I love questions like this because that's a decent spread. That suggests to me it's getting kids thinking hard, that each one of A, B, and C is causing them to think, oh, maybe this one isn't an integer. There's nothing that they can discount easily. It's a sign of a good question for me. So congratulations, those of you who identified C as the most popular wrong answer. But what fascinates me is why. Why C? So those of you who've used diagnostic questions in eedi will know that once you identify an answer, you can delve into students' explanations. C is a fascinating one. So look at this. Here's a typical child who answered C. Just have a read of that explanation. Now, when I considered C here, I thought the issue was going to be this 27. I thought it was going to be cube root of 27 that kids were going to be thinking, that's a bit weird. But it's the 1, the cube root of 1. Now, that should be the easiest cube root in the world, right? Should be the easiest square root in the world. But the more I read kids' explanations on diagnostic questions in eedi, the more I realize 1s and 0s just cause no end of problem. Whenever I see something like this, I think to myself, have I just put all my emphasis on cube roots and square roots on things like square root of 4, of 9, of 16, 25, of cube roots of 8, of 27, 64, and so on? Do my kids know that what the cube root of 1 is, what the square root of 1 is? Well, according to this, and this isn't an atypical explanation, there's the vast majority of explanations mention this cube root of 1 that causes the issues. So again, when I find these questions that are problematic, first off, I think I best make sure I ask my kids that. Secondly, let me get an insight into where my kids are likely to go wrong. And then thirdly, how am I going to convince them that C is the wrong answer? Okay, let's move on to the second worst answered question from those three, which is the volume question. So Iris is going to pop the poll up for this volume question. If my maths is right, the correct answer is D to this one, I believe. But your challenge is, which out of A, B, or C is going to attract the most students? What's the most popular wrong answer? So the poll is live now. Good luck.
Coming in a little bit slower this time. Maybe people having to think a little bit harder.
That's it. No rushing. I like it. There's big stakes, Iris. That's the thing. Big cash prizes. So legally, again, for legal reasons, there may not be cash prizes, but just tell yourself there are. Okay, so there is, again, a clear runaway. I'm not going to say which one it is here. But there are also people who've gone for each one of the answers is attracting people. Let me bang 10 seconds on the clock.
We should get a little timer, shouldn't we?
We need a timer, yeah. We need to up our game here. Music and a timer. All right, 5 seconds left.
Bit more even this time.
Yeah, it is. 3, 2, 1. Okay, so we've got C, seems to be attracting the most here of you, followed by A, followed by B. Well, let's have a look what the kids think. What do over 2,000 kids who've answered this? What have they gone for? Now, this fascinates me here. Again, look at that. Only 46% are getting this right. More kids are getting this question wrong than are getting it right. Again, we've got a beautiful split. We've got A, B, and C each attracting a significant number of kids, but A just about nicking it with 21% of kids going for A. Now, why are they going for A? And congratulations to this 26% of you who correctly identified that. Why are they going for A? And again, this for me is a good question because I can see a reason for B. I can see a reason for C. So C, I can see them adding the 3 sides instead of multiplying. B's an interesting one. Where the heck does B come from? Well, how many sides has a cube got? Well, a cube's got 6 sides, 6 lots of 15. There's your 90. But where does A come from? Well, let's pick a typical kid who's done A. Simple as that. Cube has all the same measurements. It's a strong start there. But this is where it falls apart a bit. The volume is the height multiplied by the length. So misremembering a formula, confusing area and volume. Do kids know how to distinguish between the two? Have they had an opportunity to practice distinguishing between the two? So the question that's running through my head here is, first off, I've got to make sure I ask my kids this question. Secondly, now I know this, now I know these results, what am I going to do about it? How am I going to convince my kids that D's right? But how am I going to convince them that A, B, and C are wrong? So again, knowing these questions in advance, knowing this data in advance, as Iris is about to show you how you can get this, is super powerful, I think, for planning. Okay, so the final one. So congratulations, those of you who identified that negative numbers was the worst answered question. But for the final time tonight, what's the most popular wrong answer? So if my maths is right, I think D is correct. I think only options 2 and 3 give you the correct answer to the square of -7. But what do kids think? And I'll tell you now, there's a little teaser. The explanation breaks my heart here. It'll bring a tear to your eye. Okay, so get ready for this one. Polls open. Is it A? Is it B? Is it C? Okay, people hedging the bets here. There's, again, I won't say which, but there are 2 that are kind of vying for first place here.
Oh, neck and neck.
It is neck and neck. It is neck and neck.
Ooh.
And again, just to whilst you're thinking about this is what we do as a maths department. I think it's a really useful exercise. Pick a problematic question and play this game. Where do kids go wrong? Why are they going wrong? What are we going to do about it? And it's that third bit that's important. It's all well and good identifying these problematic questions, but how are we going to use this information before we teach our kids? And as I say, Iris is going to show you a beautiful way that you can do this using the schemes of work. Okay, I'm going to put 10 seconds on the clock for the final time. Is it A? Is it B? Is it C? 5 seconds. Okay, let's close the poll there. So look at this. Only 36% of kids are getting this question right. And just to reiterate, this is a big old sample size, this. So we're talking serious issues. Again, we've got a decent split. 30%, almost as many kids are going for A as they are for D. B, we cannot discount B, and we cannot discount C either. So we've got different misconceptions bombing around. C is a different one. That's confusing the use of the word square. Square means multiply by 2. That's a very specific misconception to do with the powers of 2. But then we get something fascinating. I mean, look at A. So both A and B, students choosing that believe that -7 squared, bang that into the calculator like that, that's going to give you the right answer. And indeed, are you ready for the heartbreaker? Wait till you read this explanation. The bit that makes me want to cry is this bit, because the brackets don't really do anything. Just ignore the brackets. It's fine. You'll be absolutely fine. Now, of course, brackets, when we're typing things into calculators, particularly negatives, it's so important. So when I see something like this, I say to myself, okay, I've been thinking about powers and roots, but this is calculator work. This is knowing how calculators work. And in the past, I think I've been guilty of just taking that for granted. I just assume my kids know how calculators work. But now when I see data like this, results like this, I make a conscious effort to, wherever possible, to include calculator work in every topic, interleave it in there, just as I would interleave negative numbers, fractions, decimals, and so on. I interleave calculator work, because if our kids can't confidently use calculators, they're going to start making absolute howlers like this that are going to cause no end of trouble. So there's just a little run through of diagnostic questions. And for me, the power not just of using them in the classroom, but of using them before we teach to aid our planning, to start to get an insight of the kind of mistakes our kids are going to make. So hope you enjoyed that one. If you got all of those right, so you identified the most popular wrong answer, and you got the most popular misconception for each of those 3, pop your name in the questions thing. Iris will check that over. You'll be in the big draw for this huge cash prize that legally may not exist, but it doesn't matter. Right, anyway, I'm going to shut up there, and I'm going to hand over to Iris, who's going to show you how you can do things like this and much more using the power of eedi. And then we'll both be back at the end to answer any questions that you've got. Just write them in the questions tab, as I know some of you have been already. Okay, Iris, over to you.
Awesome. Thanks very much, Craig. So as you mentioned, actually you can ask questions during this as well. So if anything crops up, just write the question, and at the end we'll be able to go through everything. I don't want to hold you too long, and there might be quite a lot of information you're going to take in, but I want to show you the power of eedi and give you a quick tour around all the different features we have. So the first thing, which is the most exciting thing that I think we've got, is the misconceptions tab on eedi. And what that allows you to do is plan for error. So in a minute, I'll talk about the scheme of work. But basically what happens, if you tell us that your next topic you're teaching is angles on parallel lines, we can say, okay, these are the common misconceptions for that. And you can walk into your lesson and plan for these possible misconceptions before you've even taught them. We give you written misconceptions, and we also show you the spread of our data. And you can see from this image, thousands of students answer each of the questions. So I'm going to actually show you how we get to that stage in a minute, and then I'll show you this again towards the end.
Iris, sorry to interrupt. I should just say at this point, if people are frantically taking notes, we're going to record that. We're doing 4 webinars. We're going to record the best one. Fingers crossed there will be a decent one here. And we'll send that out to anyone who's registered. So if you're thinking, oh, I can't take all this in, you're going to get your own copy that you can watch in your own time.
Absolutely. Awesome. So first of all, I want to tell you about our scheme of work. And it's probably one of the main features and the initial thing you have to do on eedi. So what we've done in the scheme of work is we've created lots of topic units, and you can create your school's bespoke scheme on our platform. In each of the topic units, we have 2 quizzes, and we have quiz A that goes out straight after you finish teaching a topic. And then we've got quiz B that goes out 3 weeks later to say, have the students retain that information or expose different misconceptions? They both contain around 10 questions. And the questions in each of the quizzes match. For example, question 5 in quiz A, mathematically is the same question as question 5 in quiz B, but the numbers will be different and the misconceptions will be the same. So you'll really be able to see, are the students retaining that information? And what about coverage? So I've said you can create your bespoke scheme of work, but actually you may follow a scheme we already have on our platform. So for GCSE, we have the AQA All About Maths scheme, the EdXL OCR, and we've also got eedi scheme. All the questions in eedi scheme have been created by Craig, and we have a revision scheme. So let's say you're teaching year 11 and you've finished teaching all the topics. We have quizzes, and they've got multiple topics in each quiz. The structure is the same as our scheme, but you can assign that so the students get a bit more of a variety for each quiz. Personally, for GCSE, I'd recommend Craig's scheme of work. It's absolutely brilliant, and it's the most flexible. But if you do follow a bespoke scheme, a scheme already, so for example, the AQA All About Maths scheme, absolutely jump and take that, and it's already created in the order for you as well. For Key Stage 3, we've got Key Stage 1 to 3, we have White Rose Maths and AET. White Rose Maths are really granular. They go into lots of detail. The quizzes are generally 10 to 12 questions long. AET, they cover much broad topic units. Again, you may follow one of these schemes already. For computing, we have a few different projects for computing, and you can have a little look at those. The computing at schools tend to be the most popular. We've also got Mathematics Mastery Scheme, and if you're here for a project called the Centre of Excellence of Mathematics, we have the Retake GCSE scheme for that as well. So it's really important to choose a scheme that works best for you. And at the end of this, I'm actually going to send you a guide on how to choose the best scheme and also how to set it up as well. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is add a scheme of work based on the one that suits your school best. I'm just going to quickly show you a few of the things that I think people miss on the schemes page. So you've got the start date for the scheme. I'd really recommend renaming the scheme of work based off your school as well. You can do that just by clicking into the name. And then quiz length. This is one of the things that people really miss. This is the number of days students have to complete the quiz. So I've got mine set as 7. That means the students have a week to complete the quiz. You can adjust that. Ideally, you'd be looking at 3 to 4 days because then the students are getting assessed quite close to finishing the topic unit, but that's not practical for all schools. So you can extend that. Default will be 3. So make sure you do adjust that if you want extra days. Okay, we've got adjusting the scheme. I've mentioned increasing the number of days the students have to complete the quiz, but we've also got a couple of other things you can do. So once you've added all the topic units, this is before or after you've assigned the scheme of work, you can adjust the order by picking up the topic units and dragging them, a bit like the images shows there, or you can extend topic units. So let's say you need longer to teach something, you can drag down a topic unit. In the guide I'm going to send you, there's actually videos on how to do this as well. And it shifts all the topic units on. So you don't move each one individually, you can drag them all down. So once you've assigned your scheme of work, we give you clear visibility on actually the quiz dates. So you can see all the quizzes are upcoming. Here you can preview the quizzes and also edit the quiz dates, which I'm going to show you next. So here you can edit the start date and the end date. Let's say, you want the start date to be moved on a day or a couple of days, you can do that. If you want all of your topics to move on, I would recommend adjusting it in the scheme page. But if it's just 1 or 2 quizzes, you can adjust it here. You can also see all the questions that are going out to your students straight below and the correct answers there. Okay, so quickly, so once you've got the scheme of work set up and assigned to your class, that's the only thing you need to do to access the upcoming quizzes data. So you have to create your scheme, you have to assign the scheme. Students don't even have to have logged in yet, and you can access all of this data from our platform already. So just similar to how Craig showed you today, and you can see the spread of the misconceptions. As soon as your scheme's set up and assigned to your class, you get all of this, and you get it for all of the topics. So you may just want to plan, the next 4 weeks on the scheme of work, assign that to your class. Then you get, for the next 4 topics, you're going to get this planning for error feature. You don't have to plan your entire year in one go. Just plan as far as you're comfortable doing, and you'll be able to access this data. Okay, so everything I've spoken about is really you can get before students have even logged in and completed a quiz. So, of course, when students complete quizzes, you get our results. Now you get individual results, you get their score, you can see the option they chose for each of the questions. But really, we like to say actually the more important element is when you start to see the misconceptions from your student. You can do that through the misconceptions tab and see the worst answered questions, or you can do that through the results tab. Now, the reason I'm showing you through the results tab is because here you can see, for a particular question, you can see all the students who've exposed misconception A. Now I can see the misconception that they've uncovered as well, and that was written by our authors. You can then here give these students feedback, and you can do that. So you can say, okay, I'm going to use that misconception explanation or the explanations the students have given to sculpt your feedback to your students. Notice here as well, you can download results. When you download the quiz results, you can actually see the start and finish time for the students for each quiz. That's a new feature that we hope to bake into our platform as well, but at the moment you can access that through the downloads. Cool, so I've touched on feedback a little bit and kind of giving that through the results section. But why is it so important? So instead of giving feedback, maybe 1 by 1 to students, you can group them by their misconception. But more importantly, you can actually see when students have read your feedback. You can see if they've answered your questions. So if you've given them feedback and a follow-up question, you can see all that information. We really also encourage the use of eedi generally to be low stakes. So it's important for the students to expose misconceptions so you can support them on resolving those misconceptions. Okay, the last one for teacher features. I know there's quite a lot to go through, but this is analytics. So we've done kind of the setup part and what you get straight away. We've done as soon as the students completed quizzes, what you get, but what happens over time here as well. So students over time, they have the quiz A and quiz B results. So you can start to understand what retention looks like for your class, and you can see quiz A and B alongside each other. Now, this is all fake data. I'm sure yours will look much better than ours. This is just our team completing quizzes, but you can here see for every single quiz, you can see the distribution. And it's quite likely that maybe topics you have to remember lots of formulae, they're going to have a larger gap between quiz A and quiz B because they're going to be misremembered or misused, and misconceptions will be exposed over time. Okay, so that's everything for teachers. I know there's a lot to go through, and I will also send out some information on some important actions for you to take shortly. I've just got a couple of other things that I wanted to talk through for students and for parents as well. So for students, with students, once the students have completed the quiz, they get their results instantly. But more importantly, they get information about their misconception and also an explanation for the correct answer. So as soon as a child completes their quiz, they can review all their answers. They also get to reattempt any of the questions they've got incorrect in their improve section. So they can go in there anytime and work on those. They can access overdue quizzes and past quizzes, so there's no problem saying, I missed that homework. They will stay there for sure. And the only other thing is about accessibility. So we've got our mobile app. we've got completing them directly on our website as well. So the students can complete them from home, within school, whatever works best for your school, we can accommodate that. With the app, the reason I think it's so brilliant is because the students get notifications. So there's no more, oh, I didn't know I had that. You know, you've got these regular quizzes, the students being notified, and they'll be completing them, fingers crossed, on time. Okay, so what about for parents? So for parents, what we've done is we've created daily actions. The parent can actually choose to have them less frequent if they'd like to. But the idea behind this is to say, how can we get the parents to be regularly talking to the child about their maths education, building in that positive habit? They don't, we know they're not huge tasks. We don't ask them to sit down and do the maths itself. It's just about small tasks that the parent can complete. We're actually working with Nesta on a project around supporting parents and getting involved in their child's maths education, because it's really important to us. You know, you've got the parents at home, and then you've got, of course, the school as well, both supporting the child in their maths education. We've also got support for parents. So if you did launch to parents, you're not left alone. We actually help you every step of the way, and we also support each parent individually as well. Okay, I've rattled through loads of different features there, but I wanted there to be some key takeaways and kind of some first steps, because, you know, managing all of that information I've just given you is probably going to straight through. And, you know, I want to say these are the definite first things you'll need to do. So one thing is actually getting your classes set up. You know, a lot of what I've gone through is around using our platform, the benefits of what you get in our platform. But okay, what about getting set up initially? So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to send you all an action. It's going to come to the top of your screen. And this is going to be around setting up your classes. It's going to say classes there. So everybody, you should see here, you should see me sending classes. If you click on that in the next kind of 10-15 seconds, what I can do is close that off and send you another one for my next slide. But I'll talk through classes whilst you're all clicking on that button. So a couple of things with classes and how we can get them set up. If you haven't already, we can sync to your school's MIS system, and this gives automated class management. So we add all your teachers, we add all your students, we add all your classes. Any adjustments happen automatically. This does cost us money, so we pass that cost on to the school. We don't make money from that at all. It's just about kind of covering costs. The other options are free, and one of them is send us an Excel file. You'll actually be able to see that on the document I sent you as well. So you can fill out the template and we can import them for you. The only thing with that is, of course, you do have to manage the adjustments manually, but hopefully there's nothing too crazy, and each teacher can do that themselves. Once you've done that, you can download students' login details. You can actually see on my screenshot that I've got on this slide, you click on the 3 dots that people sometimes can't see, and here you can export logins. This will contain the student's username and the student's password as well. You can edit the student's passwords in this section. So if you just scroll down a little bit on your classes section, you can edit all that. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is scheme setup. So I'm just going to close the classes one. Anyone who needs to grab it, you can grab it now. We will send a follow-up, or you can go to our help center at any point and access these documents. So scheme setup. Again, I'm just going to do something similar. I'm going to send you all a guide basically to help you with your scheme. Can't set this up beforehand, so I've got to do this at the time I'm talking to you. So, okay, you should all see the scheme button come to the top of the screen. Again, this is going to be a guide to help you choose the correct scheme of work for your school, create your scheme of work, rename your scheme work. I think it's really important, because this means that you know it's the one you've created, rather than if you kind of added the same template twice. You can share the scheme with your colleagues, so only one colleague will need to make that scheme for that year group. Assign your scheme of work. And then I just got a little note here as well. If you right now went to your scheme section and you have lots of templates there and you don't know why they're there, delete them. So again, it'd be 3 dots in the top right hand side. You can delete all those schemes. You know, we've already got all the templates that always sit there. So if one day, you know, maybe last year or the year before, you went into the scheme section and you added a ton, that's going to make your account messy. So you may just want to delete them, as long as you haven't spent hours making them, of course. So hopefully everybody has that scheme document there. And that was basically everything I wanted to go through. And I hope you've all got guides as well to help you. Otherwise, we've got our help centre, help.eedi.co.uk. Go to that anytime. And a little bit more about support that we've got. We have our live chat on our system. Some schools do block this, but the majority is allowed. And that is baked into the bottom right-hand side of your screen. If that is not available in your school, you can email hello@eedi.co.uk, and that comes through to our live chat, so we can get back to you within 15 minutes. And then we've got webinars. So just like you're here today, we have a series of webinars coming over the next couple of months. So feel free to book on to as many as you like. I hope that's been useful for everybody. And then I guess next we've only got to take questions from, so we can have a little look and see what's come through. Actually, it's pretty quiet on the question side today.
It is pretty quiet. It is. So if anybody's got any questions, me and Iris will stick around for another 5 minutes or so. But those of you who haven't got any questions, feel free to go. I hope that's been useful. As I say, it's completely free, everything we're offering here. And we're just trying to make it as useful to teachers as possible, both in terms of planning, in terms of getting analytics, saving time, reducing workload, and providing useful information. And I just like anything, I know it can be complicated, but Iris and her team are here to help wherever they can. So if this is you saying goodbye, thank you so much for joining us. And as Iris says, if you've got other colleagues that want to sign up to the webinars, feel free to tell them about it. And if you've got any questions, feel free to contact Iris and her team. But if you've got any questions tonight, feel free to stick them in the questions tab, and Iris and I will deal with them either by typing the answer to you, or if it's something big, we'll just describe it to everybody. But I just want to take this opportunity to say thank you and bye to those of you logging off now. See you later.
Awesome. Thank you very much, everybody.
All right, Iris, the questions are flying in here. Oh, we got a couple of thank yous. That's good. Kate, are many primary schools using the White Rose scheme? Yeah, they are. Yeah, loads. I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but we've loads, particularly the year 5 and year 6. There's, loads of those. I'll be open and honest with you. I was skeptical about using it with kids as young as year 1 and year 2. And I think a lot of teachers there start by introducing it into the classroom, just use it as a questioning tool, talking, discussing with kids and so on and so forth. I wouldn't want to be dumping it straight onto kids and for homework and all that kind of thing. And that's true of all ages. But yeah, there are plenty of schools using the White Rose primary one.
Some of our actual best schools from last year were primary schools. There were 3 or 4 that were up there in the number of quizzes completed as secondary schools, which, considering primary schools are normally much smaller, was phenomenal. I mean, 20s of thousands, 30s of thousands of quizzes completed for a school.
Absolutely. Oh, thank you for all the nice comments as well on the right-hand side. You're very welcome. I'm glad it's been useful. Yeah, if there's any other questions, we're down to 18 people left. The hardcore remain at the end of this.
Maybe they'll just want to listen to us have a little chit chat.
Yeah, see how awkward it gets when there's no one to talk to. They drop that lost somebody then. That's gone from 18 to 17. That was enough. Now they're all going. Now you're all going. Deserting the sinking ship here. All right. I don't think there's any more questions coming in, Iris. So yeah, thank you. And we'll Iris will send some information around to those of you who signed up. All right. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Oh, hey, whoa. Iris, look at that. Yeah. Last minute of questions come on here. Oh, there's two. Look, have you got them? Can you see there a security problem? Denise. Yeah, Denise, I don't know if Iris can actually hear here, but I'll... Oh, she can. Oh, fantastic. So Iris is just looking over that one.
So Denise, that may have been on the wand syncing. That actually is customizable, but we have documents on why each field is needed. For example, there's some alarm bells around start and end date for teachers that people get quite concerned about, but actually that's to allow us to automate bringing in and removing teachers from the system at the right time. So it's really interesting ones. We actually have documentation to help understand why each field is required, and that actually sits in our help center as well. So I'll drop you a message with our help center. Another one from Michael is the CFEM limited to trial teachers? Really interesting question. There will be some action research teachers able to use this as well, but it is important to understand which trial the college is working on. So what might be a good idea, Michael, is if you drop us a message through our live chat, and we'll be able to help you further with that and making sure that you are able to use us.
Perfect. All right, let's wrap it up there, Iris.
Yeah, awesome.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.